What kinds of work injuries are there? Issue was that somebody had been told by their job that because there was not a specific date of accident, that they could not pursue a workers' compensation case. So I wanted to address this really quickly. And in New Jersey, there are two types of work-related injuries. You can have a specific slip and fall, I hurt myself, hurt my knee, and report it and get treatment and whatnot. So there's a specific accident. But there's also a what's called an occupational claim. So that is, I am exposed to chemicals and I develop a pulmonary problem. I do data entry every day for 8 hours a day and I get carpal tunnel. I have been exposed to COVID and know that it happened at work, but not really sure of exactly the day that the exposure took place. Those are what are called occupational claims. Now, those cases are usually denied by the workers' comp insurance companies. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Why is it good? If they deny the claim, you can go and see any doctor you want. You're not tied to having to go see the workers' compensation doctors, and you're in a position where you can get your own medical treatment, and then we would move forward with the case. The bad is that you're using your own insurance, and if you had to be out of work, you have to collect state disability, not workers' compensation benefits, temporary disability through workers' comp. So there's some offsets. And so the best thing to do is to know that you have every right to pursue a workers' compensation case for an occupational exposure. Now, in order to do that, you want to, first of all, make sure that on some level, you know that what you have medically is, in fact, related to your job. But what the law says specifically is that if it's really you have 2 years, I'll do it this way. You have 2 years from the date that you knew or should have known that the exposure caused the problem. So the best example I usually give in this situation is, someone years and years ago, let's say worked with asbestos, and now 20 years later, they're diagnosed as having mesothelioma. Well, they don't find that out until 20 years later. So that is that is when they knew or should have known, and now they have 2 more years in which to pursue the claim. So that's important. So when it comes to those occupational exposures, again, typically the insurance companies are going to deny those cases. So what you have to do is we have to get the medical records. We have to get a doctor's opinion that says there's a connection, and then we move forward. All right. Now, I wanted to jump into those two things, or that point first, because remember, when you get injured, as part of the New Jersey workers' compensation system, you are entitled to receive medical treatment. You're entitled to get paid if you're out of work, and then you are entitled to receive an award for your injury. So those are the 3 basic benefits that you are entitled to receive when you are hurt in the course of your employment. Now, remember, the downside to the workers' compensation system is that the insurance company gets to dictate to you where you have to go medically. Usually it's the corporate health office, the urgent care, and then hopefully eventually to a specialist. So that's one of the downsides to the system. Now, the good thing on that is that you're not paying for any of the medical treatment. And what's very important, and usually what I say to people is, I want you to contact us right away, because that way we can get involved. And if either your benefits are not coming fast enough, or if they're being denied outright, then we can do something about that right away. Also, if they're only sending you to the occupational health people, then we can move to try and get you to the specialist, to have you seen by an orthopedic doctor or a neurologist, depending on your injury, okay? So that's why we want to try and get involved early. Now, all too often, I wind up talking to people who have gotten not great advice or who aren't really receiving the correct information from their human resources people, or in fact the adjusters themselves. The answer to that is that the HR people are going to tell you what they have been told to tell you, and or they're going to tell you, well, that's the way we've done it. And again, I hear that all the time. And just because that's the way they've done it doesn't necessarily mean it's the way it's supposed to be done. So that's where it's important. You know, I've often had people come to me and say, oh, well, my HR told me that because I didn't report the claim in 3 days that I can't pursue a workers' compensation case. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. That's just not so. But that person isn't, I believe, they're not doing that intentionally. Maybe they are, but I don't think so. I think they're doing that because that's what they've been told to say. So, you know, the issue is that the issue that you want to make sure of is that when you get injured, the most important thing to do is report the claim. Report it. Even if you're okay, just report it. That way there's a written record of what's going on, and so there's no issue. Even if nothing comes from it, at least it was recorded. Now, if 3 days after the fact, all of a sudden you start feeling pain where you injured yourself, well, at least there's now a recording, and nobody's going to turn around and say, oh, well, you never told us, so therefore it happened somewhere else and it's not our responsibility, okay? Often, if they don't want to take the incident report, then it's very easy. You send them a letter, you send it certified mail, and then at least you have a green card to know that they have received notice that you have been injured.